So, at the beginning of 2015, Royal Mail published what is probably the most single useful piece of research into how consumers use and value mail in their lives. Called The Private Life of Mail, it represents more than a year's work and more than £100,000 worth of investment. The DMA thought, rather than just leave this research sitting on the shelf, they'd gather together a group of media planners and identify the real learnings within this research that members could use to create better returns from their mail investments they're making. We've broken that advice up into 3 separate papers, which are here on the DMA website. But this short video represents the bluffer's guide, all you need to know in order to make more money from mail. If you can only remember 3 things, here they are. Firstly, we can now use standard media research to compare mail with every other media channel. And when you do, it turns out to be quite enlightening. Secondly, mail commands more attention and more dwell time from consumers than almost any other channel. And thirdly, we've traditionally only measured immediate response from mail. We find that actually mail creates value over the longer term. In order to identify that, we need to change our measurement methodologies so we capture that value. So let's deal with each of those in turn. Firstly, our planners say, compare mail with every other media channel. Use exactly the same tools and techniques. So traditionally, mail's not been like other media channels. It's been a very special child. It's been planned and bought by experts, and the media planners who buy the television time, the display time, the radio space, haven't had anything to do with mail. But over the last year or so, mail has been added to the standard industry tools and techniques that are used for measuring all other media. And when we use a tool, for example, touch points, and look at how consumers use mail, the results are very enlightening. Turns out 74% of us read our mail every day, and on average we spend 21 minutes a day reading mail. That's longer than the 18 minutes we spend reading magazines. And because each of us only gets 9 pieces of mail in a week, the amount of attention that any one piece of mail gets from a consumer is really disproportionate. That means it's far easier to get a high share of voice and a share of mind within a consumer using mail than almost any other channel. And those high shares of voice correlate with market share gains. And that's something the planners say you should really be thinking about. Secondly, our planners say, focus on the way that consumers use mail. The Royal Mail conducted a neuroscience study, and what that showed was that mail has a huge impact on consumers' brains, bigger even than television. And the 2 big impacts it has is firstly in terms of engagement, consumers will spend time with mail, but secondly in terms of long-term memory encoding. And that long-term memory encoding correlates very strongly with long-term brand effects. Second piece of insight was that those long-term memory encoding was amplified if a consumer had seen a television commercial before they see the mail piece. So this planners takes those 2 pieces of insight and make 2 recommendations. Firstly, don't just think about mail as a response medium, harvesting the demand that's in the marketplace. Think also about the messages you could put in there that would have that long-term brand impact that the medium's very good at creating. And secondly, don't just plan mail as a standalone medium. Think about integrating it with either television or radio, and ideally get a consumer to see or hear a television or radio ad some 3 times before they see your mail pack. That's when you'll get the best payback. Finally, the planners say, think about the way you measure mail. It turns out that mail is read time and time again. The average piece of mail stays for some 17 days in the household and is shared amongst members of the household. That frequency of reading, combined with the impact that we've seen from the neuroscience, helps explain these long-term effects that we see from mail. Turns out that a new customer who is touched by a mail pack during their recruitment process will stay with you longer, be more loyal, and will spend more with you over a 5-year period than a customer who just sees a piece of digital or a piece of television when they're being recruited. So the planner's recommendation is think about the way that you measure the value of mail. If you just measure your cost of acquisition, you may not see the full value. You're much more likely to see it in the 5-year net revenues from customers recruited by mail. And think about the different tools that you would use for that attribution. Turns out the mail is better measured with multivariate analyses, attribution methods such as econometrics, rather than just simply using pure linear attribution as we've all traditionally done. So there you are, 3 very specific recommendations. Do compare mail with other media. Do think about the role that mail plays in a consumer's lives, and do think about how you measure the value from mail. Much more detail in the papers that are on the DMA website, but I hope that was a useful bluffer's guide for you, and I hope you can use these new insights to create genuine new growth from your investments in mail.